what strength training is and how it can help your performance. So whether you're a triathlete, a duathlete or a runner, this is going to seriously help your performances going forward. Doing strength training is a bit of a buzzword at the minute, but it's used in the wrong context for the majority of the time for the videos that I've seen on YouTube and the rest of it. It isn't a random circuit class. It isn't you just simply turning up to the gym and just, lifting some random weights. And it's certainly not you watching Joe Wicks jumping up and down in the living room in front of the television. Typically, you don't go over 5 repetitions for any given exercise, and it feels heavy when you do these 5 reps. They warrant a decent rest time between every set, between 2 and we find 5 minutes within the literature, so you can actually repeat a set and lift those 5 reps again. If we look at the force velocity curve, which is a graph that every strength conditioner will recognize, the graph represents force and the relationship with velocity and vice versa. As you can see, if you look at max strength, it's high in force, which is high in weight, which means you're going to move it slow, which is slow in velocity. At the other end of the spectrum, you're looking at speed, which is light in weight, so therefore you can move it very quickly. Common sense tells us that. So with endurance athletes, where should we place ourselves within this force velocity curve when it comes to your strength training? I highly recommend that you look at something called sub-maximal training. Not max strength training, we don't need to go there as endurance athletes. If you're looking for a 1 repetition maximum, so if you're a power lifter, then yep, you will definitely entertain that modality. But for us endurance people, let's look at sub-maximal strength training. So what should it feel like after 5 reps of doing a particular set? Let's say it's a hex bar deadlift or a chin up. After the 5 reps, the effort level wants to feel around 7 out of 10 on your effort level. 10 being you couldn't get another rep out. So if it's 7 out of 10, you might have got 2 or maybe 3 reps more out. So 2 or 3 reps in reserve, as we call that. What we find with this sub-maximal training is that we can still get the strength gains that we're looking for. The body will recruit what we call high threshold motor units, something that you can gain more of in the gym compared to doing low cadence cycling or uphill steep running and doing it multiple times. If you think about low cadence cycling, for example, in a big heavy gear, your coach might recommend that you do 60 revolutions per minute. And if you're doing that for 3 minutes, well, 3 times 60 is 180 reps. That's not strength training. Remember what strength training is? It's 5 reps and no more. It's not 180 reps. That's something different. That's what we call a muscular strength endurance. It's good stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's not strength training. Now, to keep this as simple as possible, what happens is when you recruit your high threshold motor units is that it fires up something within your muscles called your type 2B muscle fibers. We've got type 1 muscle fibers, type 2A muscle fibers, and type 2B muscle fibers. So 3 separate fibers. Type 1 muscle fiber is more of your slow twitch. Type 2A can be interchanging. It can mold into a type 1 muscle fiber, and also it can turn into type 2B. And type 2B is the explosive stuff, but they are quick to fatigue. Now, if you build a bit of a reservoir with these type 2B muscle fibers, those explosive ones, it can and it will make you a more economical trainer and racer within your given race. For example, let's say we've got 2 identical riders climbing the same hill and it both takes them 20 minutes. Rider A has done the low cadence work, he's done all his training, but he hasn't done any gym work. Rider B, he's done all the same as Rider A, but he has done his strength training. Let's say he's done it for about 8 weeks and he's progressively got stronger. And they get to the top of the hill at the same time. Rider B, who's done the gym work, would have tapped into those type 2B muscle fibers more so than type A. Because he's tapped into those type 2B muscle fibers more so, he's put the type 1 and the type 2A to the side. He's used those sparingly. He can use those later on in the race. Where racer A, he's used a bit of that type 1 and type 2A. He's a bit more fatigued getting to the top of that hill. So rider B, who's done the gym work, will ultimately have a stronger finish in their given race. So you've done your strength training, now what do you do with it? Well, if you just leave it there, your performance gains will have already improved compared to not doing the strength training. However, let's take it the next stepping stone to getting even more powerful and faster. Let's turn some of that strength into exactly that, power. Your strength training should serve the baseline of your gym work. Similar to your endurance training, your steady state zone 1 and zone 2 is the same with this. It wants to set the base layer. If we look at the diagram here, we've got rider A and rider B back again. And let's say that they're the same weight, so we can actually compare relative strength here. Rider B has done the strength work, and let's say their hex bar deadlift is 100 kilograms for 5 reps. However, rider A, let's say they've not done any strength training, and we gave them a 5 rep kind of maximum, and they could only achieve 60 kilograms. So already we can see there's a 40 kilogram difference. Here's where the magic happens. When we start prescribing some power-based movements, so if I prescribe you, right, lift 20% of your 5 rep max of your hex bar deadlift, that's going to represent 20 kilograms for rider B. Now for rider A, that's going to represent 12 kilograms. Now remember, they're the same body weight, these two people. So relatively speaking, rider B is a hell of a lot more powerful, but they're the same given body weight. So the power to weight ratio is already enhanced. With this, we can look at something called contrast training in the gym, where we can still maximize your strength training, but now we can start exploring more power-based movements within the gym. Now you've done your contrast training, we're moving on to the third and final step within your strength and conditioning journey here, something what we call the peaking phase. Here we're going to start exploring something called power endurance, where you have to whack out massive amounts of power under undue fatigue, which happens in races. This might be a series of rolling hills and you want to maintain your speed, and you can kick on and maintain that speed by putting out 6 to 12 pedal revolutions at a high wattage, and you can keep going. Whereas the person hasn't trained like this, they might do it once, they might do it twice, but the third, fourth and fifth time their power starts waning down. Where those that have done this power endurance training, they can stay there and they can kick on, again going faster. If you want access to these 3 phases of training to make you go faster in your races, the links are in the description below, and trust me, it's a hell of a lot cheaper compared to getting one-to-one training for months on end, and you've got it for life.